Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the workshop Data Informed Digital Strategies Lessons from Global Tech Giants. My name is Phương Anh, and it is my pleasure to be your MCs for today's event. I'm one of the HKU scholars who received the fully funded scholarships from HKU Business School Optimus Scholarship 2023 and will start my one-year master degree at HKU Business School this September. On behalf of HKU Business School and IBP, which stands for Investment and Business Partners, I would like to thank all of you for joining our workshop today. Today's event is sponsored by CIO Vietnam BSSC. The event is also live on the Facebook fan page of the University of Hong Kong in Vietnam via QuickCom, an online event platform. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event will have two keynote speeches followed by a panel discussion with a 15-minute Q&A and plus a networking session at the end. And now, allow me to introduce our distinguished guest. From Investment and Business Partners, Ms. Hà Thanh An, co-founder and COO of IBP. From the University of Hong Kong, Associate Professor Phan Quang Tuấn, Chief Representative HKU in Vietnam, Associate Director Asia Case Research Center. Professor Lê Vũ Quân, Academic Director of HKU in Vietnam. Professor Xiao Ming Yuan, Chief Scientist at Algorithm Innovation Lab, Huawei Cloud, also Professor and Head at HKU. Allow me to introduce Assistant Professor Shan Huang, Consultant at Tencent, also Assistant Professor at HKU Business School and a Digital Fellow at Stanford Digital Economy Lab. And from CIO Vietnam, Dr. Trần Viết Huân, CTO of Sun Kim Group, also President of CIO Vietnam. Ms. Đặng Thị Thủy, CEO at CIO Vietnam. And from Hong Kong Business Association in Vietnam, allow me to introduce Mr. Fred Burke, Vice Chairman. And now, to kick off our workshop, we are pleased to invite the Chief Representative of HKU Vietnam to deliver the opening remarks. He originated from Vietnam and has acquired a Bachelor of Science from MIT and a PhD at Harvard Business School. Please welcome to the stage, Associate Professor Phan Quang Tuấn.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We're very happy to have wonderful students like Phương Anh joining our HKU community and family soon. It's a very warm welcome to the digital workshop on data-informed digital workshop on strategies, lessons from global tech giants, jointly organized by the Representative Office of the University of Hong Kong in Vietnam and the Investment and Business Partners, with the generous support from CIO Vietnam, QuickCom, and Business Startup Support Center, BSSC. It's a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to share knowledge with all of you. The digital world has become an indispensable part of modern life. It offers an unparalleled access to information, communication, and services that we rely on every day, from shopping and banking to socializing and entertainment. Digital has transformed the way that we live and work. With the click of a button, we can connect with people across the globe and learn about world events as it unfolds. Indeed, all of you registered to join this workshop with just one or a few clicks. Long gone are the days when we had to wait for the mailman to deliver this workshop ticket to your doorsteps. Vietnam digital landscape has been growing rapidly with a population of nearly 100 million and internet penetration rate of more than 70%. Over the past decade, this S-shaped nation has emerged as a vibrant digital hub with a thriving startup ecosystem and a rapidly growing tech industry. According to the report by Google, Temasek, and Bain & Company, Vietnam's digital economy is expected to reach $52 billion by 2025, with an e-commerce accounting for more than half of that growth. With the increasing affordability of internet access and growing trust in online service, these benefits are now accessible to a wider audience. Digital payments, for example, are gaining popularity and becoming widely used. Such exponential growth demonstrates the immense potential and the numerous possibilities that await businesses and entrepreneurs in Vietnam. However, harnessing this power of digital technologies requires more than just enthusiasm and opportunities. It demands a strategic and data-informed approach that fits Vietnamese consumers' preferences, behavior, and needs. By analyzing customer data, businesses can develop a deeper understanding of their target audience, enabling them to create highly targeted marketing campaign and personalized experiences. This customer-centric approach fosters stronger customer relationships, enhances brand loyalty, and drives long-term cost efficiency and ROI. And this is precisely why we have come together today to explore the business lessons and insights from the world's tech giants that have successfully navigated this digital landscape through data-informed strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, we're delighted to have two distinguished speakers from HKU to join us today. Assistant Professor Shan Wang is going to enlighten us with her valuable insights as a consultant at Tencent, a multinational technology and entertainment conglomerate. And while Professor Xiaomin Yuan, who's the current chief scientist at Algorithm Innovation Lab at Huawei Clouds, will discuss the potential of live streaming and technologies to Vietnam market. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from them. Before we start this workshop, let me share some key milestones for our HKU Vietnam office after our grand opening last July. We will be welcoming the first batch of 5 Vietnamese scholars awarded the HKU Business School Optimus Scholarship in this coming 2023. Commencing their master's degree at HKU this September, HKU Vietnam will officially announce the next application round for the scholarships in August. The scholarship is available not only for the master's degrees, but the one-year MBA, our world top-ranking program exclusively designed for future business leaders with an Asian focus. HKU Vietnam also successfully conducted a series of joint events, workshops, and academic activity with our partners in both private and education sector in the past month, and there are more to come. The upcoming Shenzhen Immersion Program later this year, for example, is expected to introduce business and investment opportunities between Vietnam and China. These activities are, again, the evidence of HKU Business School's commitment to building new partnerships, nurturing business talents that meet market needs and best serve our students and alumni. Come visit us to explore lifelong learnings and collaboration opportunities. So much about us. Our representative office in Vietnam, I'm here. I'm not going to stand between you and our exciting speakers. So without further ado, please welcome Professor Shan Wang to the stage.
Thank you, Tuan Dong, right? For the nice introduction. And today, it's my great honor to share my experience in the area of the opportunities in data-driven digital strategies on social media. And I'm going to focus on the applications and methodologies of the A/B test in today's tech industries. Okay, and I'm from HKU and business school. And so the next slide. Okay, and more about myself. Before I joined HKU in 2021, I was assistant professor at UW Foster School in Seattle, United States. And before that, I went to MIT for my PhD, and I'm an alumni with Tuan. And I got my PhD from MIT Sloan School of Management. And since I was a PhD student at MIT, and I started working with Tencent on the A/B testing applications and methodologies. And it was the really early days of A/B tests. And I think A/B test has a great potential to help the organizations to make decisions based on the data. That's why I decided to come back and to to do more education on A/B testing and do more research and consulting with the China's companies. And my research interests focus on the digital economy, social media, and the social networks, and the computational social science, and as well as the business analytics, meaning that the data science in business fields. And of course, on A/B test applications and methodologies. Okay. And in the first part of today's talk, I'm going to give introduction A/B testing and to share my experience of the consulting with the big tech companies in China regarding A/B testing. And A/B testing is also can be called online controlled experiments used in the industry settings. Okay. And it is a procedure carried out to validate a hypothesis. And the hypothesis goes first, always for A/B test. And what can be the hypothesis? The hypothesis could be, for example, the blue background for this digital platform or for this app can lead to a higher use activity than the orange background. It's a very simple hypothesis, right? So the hypothesis is mainly about the product strategies. You formulate a new product strategy and a hypothesis that it is better than the existing one. Another example could be the algorithm A for recommendations of online content is better than the algorithm B in recommending the videos. For example, can lead to longer dwell time in this app. And A/B tests can provide insight into cause and effect by demonstrating that outcomes occur when a particular strategy is implemented, such as the orange background or the new algorithm B in recommending online videos. As a result, A/B test is a tool, is a data science tool for decision making in organizations to help you to choose which product strategies you should be implemented for your products or for your digital platforms. And it has been one of the most popular and important data-driven decision-making tools in today's tech industries. And according to my knowledge, most of the tech giants in this world already have invested heavily in the A/B testing infrastructure or the talents in A/B test. And they have been using A/B test for their daily operations. And they conduct thousands of the A/B tests simultaneously in their user pool to make decisions. Okay, and A/B testing 101. If you are not familiar with A/B test, I'm sure after this slide, you will get the basic idea of it, because the basic idea is very simple, although A/B test has been developed into an academic field combining the knowledge of computer science, mathematics, statistics, and business. But the basic idea of A/B testing is pretty simple. First, you randomly select a sample of users. For example, if you run a digital platform of live streaming service, and you want to test a new strategy for a certain user pool, such as the Vietnamese users or the users in the city, then you randomly select a sample from this user pool. And after that, you random split the user traffic between two or more conditions. Like this. You have the user pool and you do the random split into two different conditions. The control condition, meaning that the existing design of the product, and the treatment condition, meaning that the new product strategy or product changes you want to implement. And you also could have more or multiple treatments. And nowadays, we even could have hundreds of conditions. You could test hundreds of new product strategies together, focusing on one factor, such as you can test on the hundreds of the colors of the background among the real user pool to select which one could give you the best user experience. And then you collect the metrics of interest. For example, if you focus on the click-through rates of the video, a live streaming service, or you focus on the purchase rate of e-commerce, you could collect the metrics of interest in different conditions. And after that, you compare the metrics between A and B or more conditions, and to see which one is higher, which one providing the largest or the best user experience according to the metrics you focus on. And you must run statistical tests. You must use scientific approach to confirm that the differences you observe do not occur due to chance. And after that, you get the confidence in concluding that one of the conditions can beat the others. And that's the choice you should make for your product. Really simple, right? So this is the A/B testing 101. And in today's industry, A/B test has become the standard tool in making the decisions. And experiments conducted on a large user pool and with industry systems. And you test different product strategies in different in daily operations in the big tech firms, as well as some traditional some firms in the traditional industry. They are also learning A/B tests to assist in their decisions. And the typical strategies could be different UIs or different algorithms or different functionalities. And the different industries could find A/B tests really useful. Not only the IT industries, but also the marketing, the fintech, the retailing, and even more industries that focus on innovate to improve the user experience with their products. They all could find the A/B test useful for their daily operations. And data scientists, product managers, engineers, marketers, social scientists, computer scientists, and the statisticians are working together to improve the A/B testing technologies to help the decision makings in a more trustworthy way. And the goal of the A/B test is simple, is to make the decisions using the data faster, cheaper, and more trustworthy. Right? So there are three keywords here: faster, cheaper, and more trustworthy. The faster could give you faster iterations of the products, right? Because the market is changing rapidly, and you need to learn from the customers using A/B tests to adjust your product to into the new markets. And also, if the tool is so expensive, you may not use it for the daily operations, right? Then I think the goal of the scientists or the goal of the people working in this area is to make the viable cost of the experiments cheaper. The cheaper, the better, right? And then it should be it should help you to make a trustworthy decisions. If it is cheaper, it's faster, but you cannot trust the results, it always leads you to the wrong directions, then you will abandon it as well. That's why the three intuitive goals is faster, cheaper, and more trustworthy experiments. And A/B testing is a very important step to embrace digitization and automation, right? Because you digitize and automate the decision making based on the data, rather only than on the intuitions or experience of the C-level executives or the managers. And also, it is a milestone for machines replacing humans in decision-making processes, right? It is a kind of AI that help you to make decisions. And before A/B test, who make the decisions? The hippo make the decisions. And who are the hippo? The hippo is the highest paid person's opinion, right? And today, we need a data-informed hippo. We want the hippo utilize the data to get insights into their products according to their understanding of the data. And the data is most about the user experience. Because, for example, like Facebook or WeChat or Twitter, they have billions of the users. Even though the Hippo has very deep experience of their products, it is harder for the Hippo to understand the user experience from all various kinds of areas or cities or the at different countries, right? Like Facebook, they have their operations in Asia, in United States, in Japan, in China, and they need to understand how to innovate or how to optimize their products according to the user experience in different cities or different areas. It is really challenging or kind of impossible for a person to get the knowledge of all these kinds of users. As a result, they need to listen to the customers. They need to listen to the data. And if the Hippo has a limited experience with the new area, the Hippo may kill the good ideas proposed by the product managers. And also, the A/B testing is a process that allows the lower level management to make decisions, not only the Hippos. And scientifically speaking, A/B test is the most reliable data to test products changes. And the gold standard of causal inference comes from experiments. And before using the A/B test, before the data-driven decision-making, we usually use intuition-driven decision-making. And people rely on their gut feelings, make best guesses, rely heavily on previous experience. But now we have tons of the data and we could rely on the data to make decisions. And the data-driven decision-making means relies on the fact, rely on the data, and then choices are tested by A/B test, right? Because you first formulate different choices of the products, and then you test the different choices using A/B test. And the A/B test tells you which one you should go according to the metrics that you focus on, such as the click-through rate or the dwell time or the purchase rate. Which one can give you the best outcome that is aligned with your strategic goals? And then and before you test the choices, you need to formulate the different choices. You need to formulate the hypothesis, and these hypotheses are indeed inspired by your previous experience. Well, in other words, first, according to your knowledge or the previous experience, you formulate the hypothesis. That means you propose different product strategies, and the A/B test, the data could tell you which one you should go. And this is a very interesting example, and I think is a very intuitive example relevant to everybody in your life about A/B test. So have you ever thought about why Google search results are shown in this blue? Why don't the Google search results are shown in the black, right? And actually, this decision was made by the data. Was made by the A/B test. And the A/B test help the decision makers in Google to select among 41 different blues. And they randomly assign users into 41 groups and stay for 2 weeks. And each of the users are in different groups, are randomly assigned in different groups, like 41 groups, and they experience the different colors for their search results for 2 weeks. And then Google collect the data of the metrics, which is click-through rates of the search results. And they compare the click-through rates across different groups, and the color was chosen by the A/B test regarding which one can give Google the highest click-through rates. And this is simply an example of how A/B test was adopted in the daily operations like Google. Nevertheless, A/B testing is still an emerging area, It started at Bing, Microsoft about more than 15 years ago. It's still a young area. And also in China, it is even younger. And all the big IT companies in China have intensively invested in the experimentation system, the infrastructures of experiments and A/B tests, and the building the A/B testing culture only during the past more than 5 years. And although it is a young industry, it is still emerging field. Nowadays, it develops really fast. Like more than at least 5,000 experiments per day are conducted at Tencent, Alibaba, ByteDance, and more, and will be more in the future. And why are A/B tests so popular today? That's an interesting question to think about. Because today's product development is agile. It's different from the traditional way. Like, we build the products incrementally in each of the sprints. And each of the sprints only takes like a month or a couple of weeks. And we test and choose new features with users constantly through A/B test. We will constantly learn from the market, learn from the users, and based on the customer's real feedback, we choose the direction of our products. And we ensure we react to the changes in the market. At the end of each sprint, we discover the feedback from customers regarding the new product changes. And we constantly discover users' feedback by A/B test. That's why A/B test has become such popular and such important for today's, especially tech industry, because the product development is so agile. And I really love this sentence. Organizations will recognize maximum benefits from experimentation and its use in conjunction with the innovation system. And A/B test is about innovation. And it's about fast innovation. It's about innovation based on the customer feedback, right? Like before using the data or the A/B test to make the decisions, we rely on the intuition, right? And in this way, maybe the innovation comes mostly from the hippo, from the hippo's intuition, from the hippo's experience. But because the products eventually will be delivered to the market to serve the customers, to satisfy their needs, as a result, the innovation should listen to the customers. And the A/B test is a tool that helps us to constantly learn from the customers to make the innovations for them. And what should organizations do to embrace the A/B test? Okay. There are some suggestions for the organizations. The organizations should first recognize they are poor at accessing the value of ideas only with experience and intuition. As I said, especially when the user pool gets really large across different fields or different countries, it is kind of impossible for hippos to make the decisions that satisfy the area or the customers they have no experience with, but the data can tell you more insights. And you need to build A/B testing culture. According to my experience with Tencent, or as well as like Kuaishou or ByteDance, the big tech giants in China, I think this is the most challenging part. It's easier to build the technologies, but it's much more difficult to build the culture of the A/B test. Because before the A/B test, the hippo will have the most power, right? And they will use their intuition to make decisions, and no one will challenge their decisions. But now we have data. If we rely on the data, if we trust the data, then sometimes even the lower level product managers or junior product managers can use the data to challenge the decision makings of the hippos. Then that will be a big change of the organizations. This culture takes years to build up. And according to my observation and my consulting experience, I believe the establishment of this culture really is a top-down process rather than a bottom-up process. Thinking about if you report your decisions or your products developments to your boss, but your boss never rely on the data, and there's no incentive for you to use the data in making the decisions, right? As a result, it will be really hard to build this culture from bottom to the up. It should be a top-down process. However, experiments often conclude insights, insignificant results, such as not better than the existing system. If you test like 100 hypotheses, you propose 100 new product strategies, then maybe 90% of the time you will find it is not better than the existing systems. It is not counterintuitive, right? Because it is hard, especially to improve a mature products, but still it could help you to kill the bad ideas, to stop from implementing the wrong ideas with cost. Like at Microsoft, 90% of the experiments show insignificant improvement. And at Google, 80% show insignificant improvement. And Netflix, like 90%. Because Netflix rely on the A/B test more intensively than the others. And the organizations should be willing to invest in the infrastructure to decrease the viable cost to ensure that results are trustworthy, are scientific. And they need to automate the process of the experiments, such as randomization, the implementation of the different strategies, data collections, and making the treatment easily and running large-scale experiments among the large user pool. This all process need to be automated. Otherwise, the daily operations cannot be easily relied on the A/B test or on the data. And users participate in many experiments at the same time. Not only the practice is not one user only participating in one experiment. Rather, they participate in many experiments. We call it overlapping experiments. And this is the infrastructure of the overlapping experiments. The mission of the A/B testing team in organizations is to accelerate innovation through trustworthy analysis and experimentation, using the data in a scientific way to improve the innovation. And engineers usually build experimentation systems, and product managers usually initiate the hypothesis. And data scientists run experiments and collect the data and analyze the data. But at the same time, the engineers and the data scientists can also initiate experiments such as on the new algorithms or the new tools for the data science within the organizations. Finally, let me introduce some experiments that I conducted on WeChat. In 2016, when I was still a student at MIT, I conducted this experiment, which I think is the first A/B test on WeChat. Have you heard about WeChat? It's the largest social networking platform in China. I think it's a super app in China. And this experiment is to test the social influence on social ads. And what is called social influence? I think the essential theme of the social networking platform is social influence. We present users' likes and comments to influence the users to click or engage with the products, with the ads or with the posts. That is called social influence. Before the social media, before the new social media, the digital platforms, it is really hard to put the social influence in the products, right? We only could rely on the celebrities, right, to make advertisement. But now the social cues are personalized. They are the friends from your local social network. And social ads simply utilize the social cues to create social influence, and using the social influence, the effects of the social cues to increase ad engagement. This is pretty simple idea in social influence, increasing the the engagement of the social ads, the effectiveness of the ads. And this experiment aims to test the effects of the social cues, such as likes and comments, and users' response to social ads. We randomly assign the users into 3 groups. With the first group, we show no social cues. You show no friend like it or commented. And the second one, we show only 1 social cue with only 1 friend like it. And the third one, we show multiple social cues. We want to find whether the increase in the social cues will indeed improve the engagement of the social ads. And we have some interesting findings, which are especially important, like in 2016, which is the effects of the social cues are different for different products. That means the social ads is not good for every product, it's only good for some products. Because social ads are more expensive than the traditional digital ads, and that indicates that some of the firms should rely on the traditional digital ads more than the social ads. Social ads is not useful for every product, only for some of the products. Such as the status goods. The goods could exhibit your social status, can be more effective regarding the social ads. And the comments have larger and more sustainable impact than likes. And the likes has a larger impact on liking than clicking, because we could both click the ad or like the ads. Like the ads will create more word of mouth, but the clicked ads will lead to direct effectiveness of the advertisements. But we find that presenting the social cues could help much more in creating the word of the mouth than really engaging with the ads. And in 2021, we conduct another experiments on the online recommendations, the online content recommendations. And the content is the foundation of online economic activities. And the information recommendation is of vital interest to online users and content platforms. Nowadays, the information is now delivered randomly to us, right? It either delivered from the social networks or delivered from the algorithms. And this experiments aims to compare the social versus algorithmic recommendations in online content platforms, either from social media networks or AI-powered algorithms. We want to find which one is better. And the motivation is that before TikTok, WeChat is the most important one, right? But when the TikTok went to the market, right, and it brought a lot of threats to WeChat user pool. And TikTok really relies on the AI-powered or algorithmic recommendations, but WeChat is a traditional social media which relies on the social networks to deliver their content. And that's my motivation about comparing the different recommendation algorithms or different recommendation mechanisms, social network versus algorithms, to understand their different effectiveness in online content engagement of the users. And we randomly assigned users into 3 groups. And the first group, we used AI-powered recommendations. And in the second group, we used the social network. And in the third group, we still use the social network, but we remove the social influence, right? Because we want to see whether the AI recommend engaging content independent of the social influence, or the social network recommend the engaging content. We also want to understand how the effects of the social cues, how your friends affect your behaviors given the same content. That's the idea, very simple idea behind experiments. And we find that algorithmic recommendations lead to greater click-through rates and a longer dwell time, while social recommendations lead to higher retention rates and more contagious content. To make it simple, it means that the AI-powered content will make you stay there for longer, but the social network will allow you to will encourage you to come back, to return to the app or to return to this platform. And algorithmic recommendations are associated with more engaging content, and the effects of the social cues cause users to return. Okay, thank you very much. That's all for today's talk.
Thank you, Professor Sean, for such an interesting sharing.
Thank
I
you.
believe that everyone has grasped the idea of A/B testing and recognized the benefits of A/B experiments. So we will have time for 10 minutes for a Q&A session. So please, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Yeah, so questions.
Thank you for your sharing, Ms. Huang. Yes, I'm Vo. I come from the Yivu land. Actually, we are preparing to build an app and a new foundation for the real estate in Vietnam. Yes, thank you so much for your sharing about the A/B testing. Actually, I have a question for you. You mean blue color is the best choice? Yes. For background of the app and web. But I have a question for you. And do we have any other second choice for the color on the app and website to get best traffic? Also, like customer return our website, also like our platform. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your question. I think I just give an example of the background color, and the best background color could be chosen based on the A/B test. For example, you could have different hypotheses, such as green background or the white background have higher user activity, and you are going to use the A/B test to find which one gave you the highest user engagement. I think you need to have your hypothesis regarding the product strategies first, according to your intuition or experience and your preferences for your product. The A/B test is only the tool to tell you which one is the best choice for you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Lan. I'm from Fulbright University, Vietnam. I'm an undergraduate student. I have a question relating to the hippos. It's a very interesting topic. My question is about what is the role of the hippos in this new world of data-driven working environment? Thank you.
Oh, that's a great question, a really challenging one. I think there are different kinds of the hippos, right? Some hippos, such as the hippos for ByteDance, they are data-driven hippos. At the very beginning of the ByteDance, or the first day of the ByteDance, they made the decisions of using the data to drive their products. And this kind of hippos is naturally the data-driven hippos. But there are many other hippos. They got success in the traditional days without using the data to make decisions. And they fully trust themselves in their intuition experience in making the product better. And it is much harder for them to believe in data, right? And also at the same time, data can always lie to you. That's why we need to build up a really scientific infrastructure and use the talents of the data scientists to make all the data results trustworthy. I think there are different kinds of the hippos. And in my understanding, I think the best hippo is, first, they are a great product manager. They have the knowledge, the experience, and the good intuition about their products. And they could formulate different hypotheses or directions of the future products. And then they trust the data, or they could use the data to test their choices. But if you do not have the capability of creating the product strategies, candidates of the product strategies, then A/B test can never help you to improve your products, because A/B test is only data-driven decision tools. It's not the product innovation themselves. Is that clear?
Hi, I'm DB. So I actually have two questions for you. First question, we know that the data-driven is very important, but the first question is what is your strategy or kind of the keyword to build up the database? Because sometimes it's too much data, sometimes it's too little data, and it's costly for beginning because if you collect too much data and then you need a very big infrastructures. But if you collect too little data and then you also lack of the information for making the decisions later. And the second question is, you build the hypothesis based on the data that you have, or you have the data and you build up the hypothesis for that things?
Yes. The first question you asked about if you do not have much data, what we should do, right? So I want to make sure whether I.
The first question is like, what is your strategy for build up the data to collect?
What's my choices of?
Yeah.
Build.
Like you define what the data that you collect for.
Okay, sure. I think it's pretty simple. Like if you are going to, for example, you are the product manager to improve your the product experience in India, then you just simply collect the data randomly, collect a random sample from the Indian user pool. And the sample should be representative of the user experience that you focus on. And also, next, you need to focus on the metrics, right? For example, in the current stage, your strategy goal is to improve the user experience rather than improve the revenue. Then you should find some metrics that focus on the user experience, such as click-through rates or dwell time. But if in a later stage you decided to improve the revenue, which is your first priority, then you should focus on the revenue. There are always trade-offs among different metrics. And how about the second question?
The second question is, for example, that the approach that you have the hypothesis and then you start to collect the data on that. But in some case, you have the data and then you build up the hypothesis to testing the data. So what is your strategy on that, right?
My suggestion is always having hypothesis first and then having the data. Otherwise, you do not, if there's no hypothesis, you may not know where the data should collect for testing your product strategies. You first need to create or formulate some product strategies, different choices, then you are going to use the data to test them. The data by itself cannot tell you the new product directions you should go with. You should always have the hypothesis and new product directions first, and then test them with the A/B test.
I see that. I understand that this is a very interesting topic with a lot of benefits to explore, and I believe so. Please keep the questions to yourself, as we will still have one more keynote and a panel discussion. So please keep the questions to yourself, and our guest speaker will still answer your questions at the networking session or after the workshop. So so thank you, Mr. Shan.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward. So it is my pleasure to introduce the Chief Scientist of Algorithm Innovation Lab at Huawei Cloud and also Professor at Head at HKU. So please welcome Professor Xiaoming Yuan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So thank you all for coming. Okay, and thank you, Dong, for the organization. Okay, so I can have that chance to visit Vietnam for the first time. I'm a mathematician, but don't be scared. So I'm not going to introduce any math in the talk, okay? One slide, okay? So you can go toilet when I show the math for you. Okay, so I'm quite mathematician, not just, so I don't have any experience, maybe for the business, experience. I'm a very technical person. So I'm doing some algorithms for Huawei Cloud. But trust me, my very first job was an assistant professor in business school of Shanghai Jiao Tong University. After I finished my PhD and a postdoc, I got an offer from business school, and I accepted the offer immediately. You know the reason? Because paid too much. That's the only reason. I had no idea about business school, but I was doing operational research when I was a student. Okay. And then I suddenly got such a good offer, and I went to business school as assistant professor. After 1 year, I quit. I'm not good at business at that time. And then I went back to math department. I was always doing math. And all of a sudden, I got some reach out from Microsoft. For me, it's sudden, okay? Because they said, okay, we are doing some computer vision 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, 11 years ago. I was doing research, and they sent me emails. Okay, I need you to come to Microsoft because you are doing some algorithms, and it can help us to do the computer vision. I went there with it, okay, and I declined the offer at that time. I don't want to have any interaction with industry. At that time, I was very naive. I said that's waste of my time. I was trying to focus on research all the time. Okay, I declined. This time I'm smarter. I was smarter than the Shanghai offer. Okay, I declined the offer. Again, very very good offer. I went back to academia. I was still working on math. Still, I love math. Okay. And then 4 years ago, Huawei approached me again. He said, okay, we need you to come to Huawei. I said, why? He said, I read a lot of your papers, and they're useful. And then I was convinced. I know, okay, I'm doing something really useful. Okay, let me go into the industry to explore how my research can be used by industry people. And I'm fully convinced now. I totally changed my mind. Okay? That's why I'm here, right? So I love business people now. Okay. Okay. And the reason is because Huawei showed me a lot of examples, questions, and problems in industry, including what I'm going to say today. And I use math to solve some of them. And they make a lot of money. And so did I, in some sense, okay? And I feel, okay, my research is really useful. Okay, so then I'm so interested now in industry problems. Okay, anyway, thank you for coming. So let me show you live streaming. I'm going to talk about something about live streaming. Some real problems I have done with Huawei. You know Huawei, all of you know, right? And you must also have some idea about live streaming. Live streaming is a very new way of marketing, of advertising. Okay, and in China, it's very, very popular now. And a lot of people make so much money by live streaming. Okay, I don't know the progress, what live streaming is involving in Vietnam, but I'm sure if it's not very popular now, then I'm sure you'll see that all over the world very soon. Okay, live streaming is really a new way for marketing. Okay, so yes, so that. What's the problem? Okay. So my student and I were trying to prepare this talk. It's so challenging for me. Okay. So I decided to, split my talk into the following several parts. Some situation about China, some possible experience we have learned from China market, and hopefully they are useful for Vietnam market. And optimization, what's the strategies for us to, lower the cost and improve the quality of the live streaming, and some data strategies. How can we make some better digital strategies for live streaming, and some possible opportunities. Okay, so let's see. Very quick review about the China market. Live streaming was started. We basically think live streaming was started about 15 years ago. Okay, and at that time, of course, we just have the initial growth of the live streaming. Because the increased internet access at that time, internet became very popular in China at that time. And then after about 5 years later, the governments were, they were aware of the importance of the e-business. Okay, so the government implemented some regulations and shaping the landscape of the live streaming platforms. But technically speaking, live streaming was not popular at that time. And then several years ago, starting from maybe 2015 or 2020, the emergence of the so-called key platform, Shan also mentioned, like the TikTok, okay, and Kuaishou. Kuaishou in Chinese means very fast. Okay, and you can shoot the video very fast, and you can broadcast the video very fast. Okay, and so revolutionizing the user engagement and creating some new income sources. So many people, actually, I would say the live streaming create a lot of new jobs for people. Okay, it's kind of new industry in China. Okay, and then you know what happened after 2020 because of the pandemic. Okay, and then people realized actually live streaming became even more important for people to doing business. Okay, you can stay at home, you can stay in your on the bed, and you can start broadcasting. Okay, and you can make business very easily, much easier than before, than the traditional ways of advertisements. Okay, and we expect actually the live streaming is still growing very fast in the coming years. Okay, so this is a very short history of the live streaming business in China. Okay, and then so you see this is the current state of the live streaming in China. You see we have some very leading platforms, as you can see. Alibaba, okay, Alibaba owns the Taobao Live. Taobao, have you heard about Taobao? Taobao is the most popular platforms for Chinese. Okay, basically we buy everything there. Okay, in Taobao, and so Youku is kind of YouTube. It's a Chinese platforms, and also the Tencent. Shan also mentioned. Okay, we are in the Douyu, and the ByteDance. Okay, owner of the Douyin, the Xigua video. Xigua means watermelon. Okay, Xigua video. So there are so many popular platforms for live streaming. Okay. And as I said, currently, actually, China's market is booming. Okay, they are increasing demand since the pandemic, as I mentioned. Okay, and the growing popularity of the e-commerce live streaming. So involving live streaming formats, for example, the digital human streaming. So okay, this is basically how live streaming works. Okay, you just broadcast what you want to say. Okay, at home. Okay, or in the office, and of course, you prefer some good-looking people at the time. Okay. So you can attract more audience, okay? And you can also have some superstars as the broadcaster to promote your product, okay? And you can see the market, okay? Mathematically speaking, we call this is exponentially increasing, okay? The function is EX, the natural number E, okay? So you can see actually people are very keen in developing the live streaming in China. Okay, and so you see the future of the live streaming in China. Our prediction is like, for example, the user will continue to grow very fast. Okay, and you see the continuous growth from wider smartphone and the 5G adoption. I'm going to mention actually if we want to increase the market, you need the infrastructure. You need faster internet. But Vietnam's internet is already very good. In my hotel, it's very, very fast. Okay. But what's more important is that you have to develop the faster internet on your mobile phone. Okay. Movable devices. Okay. That's very important. And then we have the revenue increase, of course. So the expected rise due to the e-commerce integration and the better, money making. Okay, this way, and also the e-commerce integration, a larger role in e-commerce with increased live streaming, shopping. Okay, and diversification. So you mean the contents? Okay, Shan also mentioned some contents. The contents actually, we have to use the AI-powered contents, like they can recommend. By the way, my talk is going to promote algorithm. It's different from the last talk. Okay, so for example, algorithm can help you promote some contents. We call the customers contents for you only. Okay, so different people receive different contents because of the algorithm, because of the AI. Okay, so the more varied, so the different contents, customized, more customized contents. So including education, fitness, and the travel treatments, many different contents. Okay, so you see, this is some basic situations of the markets of the live stream in China. So some experience we have learned, okay, which might be helpful for you in Vietnam. It's like this. Well, first of all, as I mentioned, so the infrastructure is very important. That's the assumption of the live streaming. Okay. So you need, if you want to, you have to invest in internet. Okay, cloud computing, for example. What I'm doing is cloud computing because all the content should be deployed on the cloud, okay, not on your mobile phone, okay? And the 5G for better live streaming quality. The quality is so important. You say why some company can survive, some cannot, because of the quality. So, you know, when I started to work with Huawei, actually the very first sentence they told me is that don't consider the cost, consider the quality of service first. Quality of service is the first thing, okay? At the beginning, at the first stage, they pay a lot of cost, but they didn't care too much about the cost, okay? Otherwise, you're going to lose the client, and it's very difficult to get them back, okay? So keep the client first, okay? And you need more money to burn, okay, at the beginning, okay? At the beginning, you cannot earn money, I have to say, okay? But you have to keep the client first. We call the fans of the platform, and they make the platform as part of your life, and you cannot live without this platform. Then you start to make money, okay? And then no matter how much you ask, they will pay. Okay? So local content, as I mentioned. So we have to, you know, as I said, we have to, you know, try to create some content that caters to local people. In Vietnam is, you know, a taste and a preference. This is something about the culture. Different culture, different group of people have different taste. And if you want to do the live stream, you have to know the taste of your local people, of your potential customers. Okay? And as I said, the platform must, you know, be innovative. Okay? So we have to support the development of the local live streaming platforms. For example, by technology, by A/B test, by algorithms. Okay? You have to keep improving the technology in the platform. You have to make the user feel better and better using your platforms. Okay? As I said, eventually you have to make the users cannot leave your platform. Okay? They cannot leave. They cannot live without your platform. Then you can make whatever you want. Okay? So the regulation, of course, this is for the governments, for the managerial perspective. So you have to balance the user's protection and the innovation in regulation. Sometimes they are conflicted. Okay? You have to respect the privacy, of course, of the data. Okay? And sometimes you have to, kind of use the data, smartly in this sense. Okay? That's why I put this in color. It's very, okay, it's not safe to talk about this, okay? So let the government make the decision, okay? So money making, of course, that's the, eventual goal of any company, okay? So you have to implement various strategies for sustainable industry growth, okay? You know how to make money. One example is, as I said, how to enhance the local content, okay? So our experience, okay, in Huawei is that, first of all, as I mentioned, you have to use the culture. You have to respect the culture of the users, okay? So promote the content that can reflect the Vietnam's unique culture and the traditions. Okay, so first of all, local people like this, and you are different from others because of your culture. So your own culture will be respected by other people as well. We come to Vietnam not for Chinese food, of course, right? We come here for Vietnam stuffs. Okay, so we want to see the difference. Okay, so you have to relate the content to the culture. Okay, that's basically more effective, cost effective. Okay, and then the language preference. Okay, ensure the content is primarily in Vietnamese. Okay, to cater to most of the viewers. Okay, language is very important, I have to say. Okay, so and also the trending topics. You have to monitor and leverage some topics that most relevant to the local audience. Okay, like for example, if your target is for the teenagers, then you have to know what kind of topics the teenagers are interested in. Okay, if you are targeting for some retired person, okay, then you have to know what they are interested. Okay, so we have to also know how to influence the collaboration. Okay, to collaborate with the local influencers. Okay, to draw their follower basis. Okay, so you have to know what's the celebrities, what's the well influencing people, what's the stars, who are the stars. Okay, you have to know how to work with them. As I said, I'm going to mention later. Okay, in China, we some platforms, they hire some superstars, movie stars, or pop song stars, singers. Okay, they ask them to try to do the live streaming, and then it's very, very effective. Okay, and community building. Okay, in the platforms, in the live stream platforms, sometimes they have kind of community. Okay, they try to group people with the common interest together. And then it's like the real community in the city or in the country. Okay, then more and more people will join the community, and they can make some opportunities. They can make some social connections on the internet, and then you can make money from the grouping. Okay, from the community. So the community building is very important. I think have you ever been to use the QQ, for example, in China? That's a very classical product for grouping people together, right? You can add, different people, and you have a group, and you can have some discussion. You can share your experience, share your funds in the group, and the platform can make a lot of money from the group, from the grouping. Okay, and of course you can encourage the platform innovation, as I mentioned. Okay, first of all, the UI, the user interface should be customized. You have to make the user feel comfortable using your platform. And convenient. Okay, that's the very first step. Otherwise, the user will immediately leave. Whenever they open up your platform, they will leave. If the interface is not friendly. Okay, localization features, as I also mentioned. Right, so we suggest to implement some features that address the unique local needs, like regional payment options, something like this. And the user support, we have to provide some robust customer service and the user support in the local language. Okay? And the recommendation algorithms, we have to develop algorithms to promote some preferred contents to users. You have to be proactive in promoting your product. For example, by algorithms. Okay, that's why I'm working with Huawei. They need my algorithm to do kind of business. Okay. And the partnerships, okay, you have to, try to establish some partnerships with some local business for advertising or core promotions. You can also work with the offline entrepreneurs, okay, to promote your productions, okay. It could be mixed, it could be fused, okay, different ways. Okay, this is about mathematics. Okay, so in live streaming, so how do we optimize some resources? Okay. So actually, my research area is optimization. So in roughly speaking, is okay. First of all, but if we want to have a live streaming business, then how do you optimize your resource? So the very first resource for a live streaming platform is the bandwidth cost, because eventually you have to deploy every content via the network, and then the platform must buy some bandwidth, okay, bandwidth from the networking ISP, internet service providers, okay, and then the resource of the bandwidth is limited, and how to optimize the usage of this bandwidth. That's a mathematical problem, okay. So you see, so first of all, you have to identify the problems. I have to say, the reason that Huawei approached me several years ago, because they realized engineering cannot solve every problem. So engineering was very important. It's very important at the first stage. Okay, as I mentioned, if you don't care about the cost, you just want to use engineering to make the platform attractive and try to retain these users. Engineering is good enough. But when the volume becomes larger, when you have more and more customers, and the platform wants to be more economic, and then you have to use some scientific way to try to reduce the cost optimally, okay, and then optimization comes, okay, and then that's why they came to find me. So say, okay, now we have so many customers. Then how can you help us to optimize the cost? Specifically, how can you optimize the resource, the bandwidth cost? Okay, so first of all, then when I got this job, I said, okay, then how can we solve this problem? At the very first, I'm not lying. So I spent 1 year with my students understanding the question. 1 year. It's not so easy. Okay? So I kept discussing with different engineers. I tried to understand what's the real demand. Okay. And after almost 1 year, I had the idea of, okay, what's the problem you're going to solve? And how can I represent your question mathematically? Oh, that's what we call identifying the problems. That's the very important step. Okay. You are managers. Most of you are managers. Okay. So try to find the, good mathematician to help you. It's not so easy. Okay. So I spent 1 year. Okay. If you can find the smarter people, maybe he needs 6 months. That's possible. But try to find the smart people to help you. Okay. To do that. It's really very, very difficult. So, first of all, you have to identify the problems. Okay. So which factors actually affect the quality, revenue, and so on. You have to know what's the purpose, what's the objective, and what's the constraints, okay, in your company. And then you try to make them as a model, okay? And this model should be precisely representing your question in your company, in your live streaming platform. And then we can create the mathematical models to outline the problem. And then now math can help you. We need to analyze why the model is difficult, how to solve this model, okay? And how to find the solution. I mean, this model usually is too difficult to be represented as a closed form solution, like what we have did in high school, okay? It's usually it's a very high demanding problems. Just give you a very basic idea in case some of you are interested, okay, in math. So, the model we end up with is that we have to use machine learning to train a model with 120 billion variables. 120 billion variables. With more than 1 million binary variables. Okay, forget about it if you don't understand, okay? So that's something impossible to be solved by any mathematician, okay? And then we have to do the algorithm design. But anyway, you have to design an algorithm to solve this model, to get the solution and put the solution in the industry so they can implement. Okay. I tell you, in my team, okay, the algorithm innovation lab in Huawei, we have 60 full-time people working on algorithm design. 60. Okay. And we work with more than another 60 people, engineers together to do this problem. Okay. Not so easy, I have to tell you. But that's why I'm here. So you see, you feel more and more excited when you find the problem is more and more difficult. They ask a lot of professors all over the world, MIT professors, Cornell professors, okay, before they found them. Say, okay, can you solve this problem? I can give you money. And any professor could understand the question. And any paper is available in the literature. Totally new problem because live stream is already new, right? So no academia result. So we start from scratch. We start from zero. As I said, I spent 1 year understanding the question and find the model. Okay. So we do algorithm design and then we tune the algorithms all the time, every day. Okay. And then finally we implement the algorithm to the live stream business and try to verify the results, try to improve the quality and reduce the cost. Okay. So that's the optimization in live streaming. So let me give you a more concrete example. It's like this. So this is the cloud. Okay. And you see this is the servers. Okay. We connect the broadcaster and the viewers through the servers. Okay. So this is the connection we have to consider. We have to consider how to make the connection for one particular client with a particular server. And different ways will give a different cost. So we try to find the best or the so far the best connections for all the viewers and the broadcasters. And I tell you, we didn't do that very well, 100%. But we're already better than all the other, peoples in the world. Okay. So we try to make the best connection for the viewers and the broadcasters on the cloud. Okay. That's what we are doing. Okay. So we identify the problems. Let's just give you a very small example. You see, the client connect to the cloud edge. Cloud edge means the servers, okay? Consisting of, geographically distributed. Of course, the servers are in different ways, okay? Like in Vietnam or in China, big countries. So the servers are in different ways, okay? data centers to access the cloud services for the live content. Okay, and the so-called cost-effective traffic allocation. We have to allocate the traffic on the cloud. Okay, for the cloud age is to minimize the total bandwidth cost of the data centers while fulfilling that the capacity of every data center is not exceeded. Okay, you cannot exceed the capacity, but all the traffic demands should be met. Okay, through the connectable links. This is the only math slides. So eventually we end up with this model. If you have any math background, okay, you know what I'm talking about. MIT people must know this. MIT is, somebody make a joke about MIT. MIT is just a big department of applied math. Everybody knows math in MIT. That's why it's MIT, okay? So you see, in this one, this is the only mathematical model we have to solve. It's a very classical model in operational research. We call it assignment problem. Check out the Google assignment problem. You have to assign, the model is okay. You have to assign n jobs to n people. That's a manager. Some questions that the manager should, pay attention to. You have to assign n jobs to n people, and each people should do one job. Each job should be done by one person, and each person does one job, and you know the cost. So how to make the best, assignment? To assign n people, n jobs, and what's the optimal solution? Very classical problem, and we end up with the very likely the assignment problems. But how to solve it, as I mentioned? Okay, so this issue follows with the linear programming. Okay, you know this, right? Everybody, you have done the economics course. Then you have to know you must have have seen this kind of examples. Okay, very simple example. But the problem is, okay, how to apply any algorithm to solve this model in practice? Because as I mentioned, that the dimension is extremely high. Okay, you cannot rely on any solver. Okay, Huawei bought a lot of solvers to solve, but because the dimension, it cannot be solved by any package. We have to design the algorithm by ourselves, by my team. Okay. Okay. So this is you forget about this. This is some names of my own algorithms. Okay. I published papers, okay, because of this algorithm. And then I found out actually this kind of problems can be solved by my own algorithms. Okay. So we use that for Huawei Cloud. Okay. And this is some recognition. Okay. We have successfully, implement our algorithms, and we develop some, the so-called G-score system. Okay, and over the past 2 years, the system has, contributed to the significant cost saving for Huawei. Okay, so our algorithm can help Huawei to save $50 million in 2 years. Okay, and we saved 97% of manpower. Meaning, before our system, they need 100% manpower, engineers watching the system manually by the brains and hands. And with our system, only 3 people needed. That's a huge reduction for human power. And also, we have increased the business by 10 times in 2 years because of this kind of algorithms. Okay? So this project also actually won the prize. This is the highest prize for application of OR, operational research, okay, in industry. Okay? I didn't got the visa to go to the finalist. Okay, probably that's the reason why we didn't won it. Okay, but this is we are one of the 6 finalists. Okay. All right. So leveraging data for optimization. First of all, as I said, so the user behaviors. Okay, we have to analyze the data on user preference and the behaviors to tailor some content and to personalize some experience. Okay, this is how we can leverage data. And also we have to check the matrix. Shan also mentioned that we have a lot of matrix. We have to indicate this to indicate what's the performance of your algorithm. Okay, so like the watch time. If you try to verify the quality of the broadcasting, live streaming, well, one indicator is the watching time. How long the customer will stay on the video. Okay, and the comments, likes, okay, and the shares to understand and what contents, actually can resonate with your audience, okay? And also, you can see predictive modeling. That's very important. You have to understand the behaviors of the customers. And you have to predict, it's better if you can predict what the customer is going to do, okay? What's their taste and what's their preference. So we can use the data to focus, okay, the trends and then make the informed strategies decisions, okay? And of course, we can monitor the effectiveness of various, monetization strategies and optimize accordingly, okay? And then finally, the data privacy, okay, regulations should always be respected. That's the red line, okay, you have to respect. For this, different countries have different, policies, okay? So why should we cooperate, leverage the live streaming? So the cost-effective marketing and advertising, first of all. Okay, so according to a report by the so-called iResearch, live streaming costs 1/3 of the traditional TV advertising in terms of cost. Okay, your cost actually is cheaper. Okay, and also we have the so-called higher conversion rate and the sales. It can help you to increase the conversion rates very significantly. Okay. And also, you can increase the brand awareness and the reach out. Okay, so we have some data to support this kind of conclusion and real-time feedback and the insight. It's just a new tech knowledge, okay, to help you advertise the live streaming. So some successful examples in China. Okay, as I mentioned, the first of all, this Alibaba. Okay, Alibaba actually has they created a festival for single people, 11th of November. So what's 4-1? That means single, and single. Okay. So the single day, it's just an artificial, festival. Okay, created by the live streaming, by the Alibaba. Okay. And then in these days, actually Alibaba held a live streaming campaign, and you can see they made a lot of money by this. And also, how to spend it? Olay. It's for ladies. Okay. So this company for makeup products, okay, they also use the live stream in China to sell their products. It's very successful. Okay, P&G. Okay, this is for everybody. So P&G also used the live streaming campaign on Tmall. Tmall is also a platform in China for the e-business. Okay, so you see that it's very significant to save to increase your sales. Okay, Warren. So the conclusion, the next step for Vietnam, it's my own experience, okay, my own suggestions, okay, could be totally wrong. Okay, so we have to, learn from China's journey, tailored to Vietnam's needs, okay? And also, as I mentioned, we have to focus on the internet, cloud computing, 5G, okay, technologies, the government. Okay? And so you can leverage data and employ the mathematical methods, okay, along with operations research techniques to optimize strategies. Okay, even some of you may not have no idea about what is optimization, what is OR. Okay, then contact some professors in Vietnam to ask them suggestions. Okay, and we have to boost the local content and the platforms. Okay, so basically that's something I want to share with you today. So question and answers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for your speech. But due to the limited time, let's directly proceed to the panel discussion now. And so all of the questions for professors, please leave it after this panel discussion. Okay, so
sure.
So now it is. So now, please let's allow me to invite the guests to the stage so that we can start our panel discussion. So allow me to invite our panelists. So first of all, Professor Xiaoming Yan, Assistant Professor Shan Huang, Assistant Professor Phan Quang Tuấn, Dr. Chen Viet Huân, and the panel discussion will be moderated by Ms. Ha Thanh An. So please, Ms. An and the panelists, please go ahead. Please come on stage.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, our lovely panelists. My name is Anne from IBP. It's my pleasure to be here today and to moderate the panel discussion with a focus on data-informed digital strategies. But before turning into our panelists, I just want to change the format a little bit. I'm going to ask you guys questions. How about that? Just to change the atmosphere a little bit. So you guys have heard about, A/B testing, social ads, and live streaming, right? For you guys here, do you run ads on Facebook and LinkedIn? Please show of hands, please. Yeah? Not many? Really? Okay. Yeah, you too. Yeah, okay. Anyone do live streaming to sell your products? Yeah? Okay. Oh, not many. Okay. So how do you guys engage on digital marketing or digital sales? Can anyone share with us how you do it at the moment? Not running social, you're not running. Yes, please. Can you share with us very quickly your name, your company, how you, engage in digital marketing or sales?
As tells universities here about journalism and media. Besides us, I running some big show like Miss Universe Vietnam, like Katin Sadat. I am the production director there. And besides us, I building the Groupon size in 2012. And now I redo it, follow the Pinduoduo business model. And based on that, I have maybe 300 KOL to do live stream. And my team coding 5 new ones in live stream technology solutions. And almost we do it like we do a lot of, we call it like gamification. We do some games and collect them and direct them into the funnel. And after that, we do a lot of activities like flywheel after that. And besides us, we do a lot of content to make it like a journalism size. We analyze the topic, and after that, we follow that topic, and we doing a lot of variant beside us.
You've got 500 KOLs live streaming for you.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. That's some of the case study for you guys here. Just one quick question before we turn into our panelists. How do you collect data and use data? Can you very quickly share with us?
Actually, honestly, I have just a PhD in linguistics. I don't have the data analyst, but I have some friends in the UK and they work in the TikTok. They help me. I don't know they do. I don't know, but I have the theme. And they do follow me. I don't know, they collect, Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else want to share how you guys do digital marketing, digital sales? How do you collect data to help you make decision on that? Or you just go for it and hope that it's going to work? Yes. Yes, please. Yeah, the lady over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Startup, a small company over me. And I'm working at recruitment services. So we create one platform and allow the people to go on to put a job and looking for a new job on my platform. So we create a consent form. A consent form, and where the people allow to send us the information, the data. It means they allow us to use their data to just only the purpose of matching job. Yeah. So that's the way we're going on with the data.
Do you think it's helpful for you?
Yes, of course, it's helpful, and we make almost the process will be done digital.
Thank you very much. The reason why I'm asking you guys this is just because for our panelists to understand a little bit about the audience and the market situation in Vietnam before we turn into the panel discussion. So as we could see, some of the business in Vietnam have already embraced data-informed strategies. Some do that with a purpose. Some still, have a team to do it, but don't know how the team is doing just yet, but there's an attempt over there. So I just want to start the panel with, when you guys think about data-informed digital strategies, can you tell us 3 keywords that comes to your mind when you think about it? Yeah. And Tuấn, can you please start? Because you're next to me. So.
Okay. So I guess, I think data, I think a lot of our panelists have also, speakers have also mentioned. Of course, it needs infrastructure, it needs the hardware and software. But one key word I would say is very talent centric. You need good talent and good people, because you can give the same data to 2 different people. One who's better trained will know how to make a lot more better use of it than the other. So maybe I don't have 3 words for you, only have 1 word: talent.
Yeah, so the first keyword is about the customer centric. So all the digital strategies is around how to satisfy the customer needs by understanding the customer behavior, as well as also the customer data privacy also fall into that as well. The second keyword for me is the digital or the data-driven the mindset. Right? When we build the strategy, it need to be from the top level, top management mindset to yield the data, to define the data strategy. But also you need to implement that culture mindset at the working level as well, because the our staff on the field, the one who interact with the customer, who need to understand the importance of the data in order to get the early feedback, the early signal to validate back to the strategy. And I think the third key point for us is the collaboration among the business unit. I think the digital strategy starting with the marketing, right? But the understanding of the customer behavior, etc., is the critical part of the product innovation, about the service innovation, the customer service. So when we build a digital strategy or build a KBT, we always start with the one silo, the department, but it needs to be the cross business unit, the enterprise, the foundation. I think that is 3 important factors for us. Yeah.
Actually, my first keyword is the same, which is customers, because data is mostly about the customer feedback, and we learn from the data, meaning that we learn from the customers constantly to improve our products. And the second keyword is innovation, because using the data to innovate, I think, is the key theme of the data-driven decision makings. And it helps us to innovate based on more objective data, or in a more objective way. And the last keyword is A/B test, because I think it is about the data-driven decision-making tool. Of course, I think if the industry want to implement a data-driven decision-making tool, I think the first choice is, or people always choose A/B testing as their first choice, because this is the cheapest and is the easiest approach to implement in today's industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so keywords, 3 keywords about data informed, right? So the very first one is objective. Okay, data is objective. Okay. Second one is share with science keyword, innovation. You have to, data is something new that can help you build up innovation, okay, especially in the marketing, okay. The last one is computation. Without computation, data is data. Data doesn't give you any more information, okay. You have to know how to, including A/B tests, you have to know how to manipulate data, how to create it. Like I give you 1, 2, and 3, and what's the average? Then you have to do computation. So after computation, you can know something new. You can, try to find pickups, into the data. So objective, innovation, and the computation.
Thank you so much. Picking up on all of the keywords, I think the theme here is that you're not just about, using the data, but what are you using the data for, right? It's about the business objectives, and you've got to be focusing on the customers. So my next question for you guys is, I understand that the majority between Chinese companies or China's market and Vietnamese markets, there's a big gap. Most of the companies in Vietnam often rely on intuition. So it's the experience we have from the daily contact with our customer. We rely on that instead of data. So what is your view on that? I would like to hear from the two professors first, and then maybe Anh Huong could share his view from working with loads of Vietnamese companies.
Yeah, as I mentioned in my talk, okay, actually intuition, sometimes intuition cannot help you. Like before I went to Huawei, they used intuition. Okay, so after they use math, okay, they save a lot of money. But I have to say intuition is subjective. The data is objective. Intuition is more imaginative. And data is more logical. Okay, so you have to know the difference. I don't want to say which one is better and which one can prevail the other one. Okay, both are important, but it depends on how can you play with these two. Okay, both are important. Sometimes you need imagination to kick off the management. Okay, and then you have to use data as the most important tool to help you, improve your management. Okay, so both are important.
Thank you. It's a very interesting view, Professor Huang.
Different from mathematician, I'm from business school. I always think the product sense goes the first, and data is only the tool, right? Because I think there's a long journey for the Chinese tech companies to understand how to use the data to innovate. First, they think they can heavily rely on their intuition or solely rely on their intuition. And the next stage, they turn to using the data to innovate. But in the third stage, they realize data can now tell you everything. It only can tell you something about which choice goes the first. But sometimes data by itself can be the power, such as like use the algorithm to do the optimization. But even though in that situation, you also should have your product strategies first. You need to have the innovation in your mind first, and then use the data to implement and to make the decisions. So without a good product sense, or without good intuition about the product or markets, never can achieve success about your business.
I think we have the two different type of the company in Vietnam. The first one is the native, the digital company, right? So for example, we have the Momo, B, right? So the company build natively on the digital, and they have a lot of data, and I believe they have a very big data team to analyze, to do the A/B test for the new feature, to get the feedback from the customer, etc. I'm not sure whether they have the math people in their company or not, but in terms of data side, I think there is a lot of people there. Now talking about the traditional company, right, where one side data is not really available, so we need to find a way to collect the customer data, the data from the physical format, not from the digital format. Like for example, in my company, we use the video analytics to collect the data from the physical store to understand the customer behavior there. Whether in the website, very easy to collect the customer behavior, but the physical store, how we collect. So that's starting from that, right? But then back to the question I think that someone already raised previously. How we collect data? We try to collect every data, and then we don't know how to analyze that. So I think that it starts form the business first. So, for example, in the customer, 3 years ago, we implemented the customer data platform. And everyone, I think that is also the new trend in Vietnam as well. Focus on customer data platform, try to collect the customer behavior, do segmentation, and etc. And the customer data platform is very confusing term, right? But then I told my colleague that forget about the term. Focus on the business use cases. What do you want? Okay, and then from that, based on the business use cases, you define what customer data that you want to collect, and then from that is the continuous the process, right? Continue. You have a new use cases to collect the new data, and the data if you collect and you don't use it 6 months, it's no longer valid for your business because business is too fast. So I think the data, the driven culture started to build in Vietnam. I think from the business side, I think let's say 5-10 years ago, but in terms of the customer behavior, it started started around 3 years, and now that is more and more the company focus on that, not only from the digital company but also from the traditional company.
Yeah, I fully agree with a lot of things have been said. So I've worked with a number of organizations, some more nascent in their data journey, and some more advanced, being like some of the big tech giants in the US, for example. And different companies it's like Wong mentioned, like some of them are digital natives, as opposed to like more like real estate or traditional businesses, right? And I think that there was a question raised earlier on what happens if you already have data. What do you do? Where do you do data-driven first, or do you do hypothesis first? And one thing that from at least business perspective is that we always try to teach, we start from a hypothesis first. Because then we say, okay, well, what data do we have? Can we answer those questions with the data we have? If we don't have it, should we invest in collecting that data? And helps us to prioritize what is important to our business or not. So at least from a business perspective, that we try to promote more, the hypothesis and the objectives. Right? Yes, there are some very good wins. We can do that with the example of like Hallway. We can optimize a lot, which is fantastic. Right? But we can also go to different ways to add value through data as well.
I think it's very interesting that to have different perspectives and views from our panelists, and that's why we can generate a little bit of debate. I just want to pick up on that and to ask you guys. You talk a lot about the business objectives and business use case. Before we come into deciding which data to collect and how we're going to do with that. So, from your experience, can you share with us a little bit more from, let's say, 3 most important business objectives that a company should use data, should rely on data instead of intuition?
Okay, got the microphone. Okay, yeah, I think some of the first objectives is definitely do a lot of optimization. That's usually the lowest hanging fruit because that's kind of the data that you already have on hand. You can squeeze it out and make, depending on your business and your nature of your business, of course. So that's always a good start, and it will take up a big amount of your resources to begin with. But then beyond that, we would try to do some predictive analysis, especially a lot of my work is more on consumer behavior. So I think one thing, maybe Xiaomin and I are different on, Xiaomin's coming from more operations research on the supply side. I'm coming from more marketing, we're on the demand side. And I have a lot of great discussions with some of my colleagues on that side. On the operations side, sometimes the assumption is that demand is given. And from the marketing side, we assume unlimited supply. And of course, we're going to try and meet somewhere in between, complementary. And so I think that it's complicated. There are many different factors, but mine usually next step further down the road is more understanding consumer behavior and understanding consumer centric, right? But I'm sure that our panelists will have different views on this.
Can you share with us one specific example where you have advised the company either on their optimization or whether either on using learning about the demand of the consumers?
Yeah,
either way is fine.
Yeah, so a lot of different examples. Okay, I don't know where to start. So many examples. So we work, for example, with some credit scoring agencies that do microfinance, and they're using kind of like non-traditional data, like social media and telco data, to help credit score and give microloans. This was done more than 10 years ago, before this model started becoming very popular. Right, so the first step was trying to use their historical data to kind of better tune their credit scoring, and so we did that using a lot of social networks and a lot of these different tools as well. But then we started noticing that the users started catching on and also changing their behavior. So sometimes their historical data didn't necessarily match with the future data because they learned how to kind of play the system. Right? And so then we started trying to build more insight, borrowing from psychology and kind of softer side, understanding how they are trying to get to circumvent and creating almost fraudulent activities based on the activities. So I would say like different companies at different stages, we need to apply different strategies.
That's interesting. And Hung, can you share a little bit from?
Yeah, I think the very basic one is the first is about the sale increase, sale improvement. I think that is important. I think it's more important than this year that we need to find a way to increase our sale, right, with the challenging environment. And for the sale improvement, there are different the angle. One, for example, for online, you need to understand the behavior. You need to convert the customer from the visitor into the purchaser. Okay. And in that, you need to have the kind of the personalized offer, personalized promotion. So that's important. Now we also have the offline. And also, the modeling is still not the very complex, the math model, but say that for the convert from the visitor into purchaser in offline, you need to improve the interaction rate between the sales advisory and the customer, for example, okay, or the way you display the product in the store. Okay, so that is you need to collect, define the use cases based on that objective, and to collect the data to understand, to define the metric, and then to collect the data to improve the metric. Hopefully, when you improve the interaction rate, etc., then we improve the sale. Then, again, another topic that also very suitable for this year as well, that is the cost optimization. Yeah. You need to engage with customer. You need to pay as, you need to, in different the engagement, different the activation method. But what is how you have to optimize the cost? And you need to understand how much you pay for each channel, and you need to have the metric, right? So that I think the two major things. And I think the longer term is about the market fit, product and services. Okay, in our fashion business, we need to define the new product, etc. But if you don't have the way to understand behavior, to know what color will be the trendy for this year, you make the wrong decision. Then not only about you cannot increase the sale, but also you lost the money for the production as well, right? So I think that is some business objective that we need to understand. And for example, then based on the product innovation, you need to understand what is the color, what is the. Then in this case, you need to, in the system, you need to define the data structure in order to collect the data. If you just know about the SKU, then you cannot use the data to analyze. Okay. Then in this case, you have to redefine the data structure from the beginning. That is some traditional company, when they go to data, they have to go back to change their system in order to define the attribute and to find a way to collect the feedback from customer on that.
I just want to pick on what Anh Huong just shared a little bit. It's really interesting to see that if we get the trends wrong, it may prove very costly for the business, right? And to get in the trends, often business, us, we rely on data that we collect online, social network, from TikTok, from Facebook and what's not. But what if we read those data wrong? Then what can we do in that situation?
So that is important. Go back to even we have the very good intuition, right? Then we have the very good historical data. But the market is very dynamic. We cannot sure 100% that is the correct strategy. Then the important is how to get the early feedback from the customer, right? So that's why we have the concept of the MVP, the startup, but the MVP concept also the apply in the enterprise as well. You release the products, and then even for the color, you don't need to release the product with the color to test, but you have different way to test UAB testing, etc. Right? The same product with the color, and then you identify the trend before you apply it in the new product. Yeah. So I think the early launch product, early feedback is very important to validate the strategy.
Right. Thank you.
I think it's just like what I talked in my presentation. I think data is used for the organizations to make the decisions cheaper, faster, and more trustworthy. Because innovation needs to be quick, right? And just like the other speakers said, we need to learn from the customers to innovate. And the data could allow us to learn from the customers quickly and constantly. And also, because intuition can go wrong, especially when we have limited experience in the new market, or we have limited experience in the new business, then we could just test them among the real customers and to make more accurate, or likely more accurate decisions. And also, it could be cheaper, right? Sometimes we hire an expert to make decisions, and it can be wrong, but we could use the data to make the decisions with a lower cost. Just to run the A/B test or use algorithms for the optimization is easier for us and cheaper and more trustworthy. I think this is the objectives of the, to my understanding, is the main objectives of using the data in organization decision making.
Okay, they've said what I want to say. Anyway, I pretend to be a professor of marketing. So for me, the data actually can be used to understand the consumers better, to respond to the consumers more quickly, and to predict the behavior of the customers more precisely. That's my point.
Okay, thank you. I just want to summarize a little bit. So the business objectives that our panelists have shared resonate on 3 key areas. First of all, is the consumers, or the behaviors of the consumers, so that we could make better decisions whether to launch, our new products and where to launch it. And the second of all is how to leverage data to improve our sales, to increase revenue. And the third one is very important, especially, during this year, is optimization, especially in cost optimizations. I want to open the floor a little bit more. So any one of you guys have any questions for our panelists, especially to understand more about how they, yes, please. Here, front row first, and then you, yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hector. I'm the founder of a startup, BrainX. A few months ago, and I start my startup because I see that a huge amount of demand from AI talent. Because if you want to develop AI technology, you have to have a AI tech talent. So I founded a BrainX, and I also UX designer, and I start my design from my experience with freelance platform and intuition, and also a hypothesis a few months ago. And when I worked with a PhD candidates in AI, okay, and then when I launched the product, it's currently, my product is about like it is a freelance to connect a business to a global network of AI talent. They're gonna work with business in contract or freelancer. Okay, but when I launch in this month, I try to talk to many AI data science leaders from Yellow Bay, VNBay, and many startups, and I figured out, oh my God, I'm fucked because the privacy, especially if it in AI, okay, the privacy, confidential information, oh my gosh, okay, because they refer the full time, okay. So right now, okay, I'm kind of like, oh my God, I'm fucked, okay. So I want to ask the question, especially, for Professors Sean Huan and Dr. Hun Chung. Should I, because there are two options right now I can do. Okay, should I, change my product, to kind of something, for full time AI, or should I keep trying to find a market, so my product, freelance product can fit in. Okay, so that is the question. So right now, okay, my mistake, I start with the hypothesis, but then when I collide my product with reality, with more data from customer, and so that's right now. That's the question. I'm stuck, so I'm coming here. So hopefully that I hear some advice from panelists.
Thank you for your question. I just want to frame a little bit bigger when it comes to like AI aspects. So from a company's point of view, so with a company more comfortable of having like full time or having like contracted AI engineer or data working for the company, and how can a company ensure sort of privacy for the data when they work with outsourced team? I think that's going to be more relevant for the rest of us to understand as well.
So I try to answer that. I think almost the company in Vietnam, I'm not talking about the big one, right, have the in-house the AI experts. So of course, the way they do is they need to have the collaboration between the business company and technology company, try to solve the problem. Okay, so I think that is the need. So if you have the AI company, you need to focus on some the industry use cases, and then you work with the business. I think they are open for that. And between the business and business, normally we have the NDA, etc., that can handle that. Now talking about the freelancer, then the freelancer is important because for a freelancer, the company, in order to hire the freelancer, they need to have their own AI capability. In order to manage the freelancer, for example, I need to have the team of the 5 AI. At least I need to have the 2 or 3 for my core team, and then I find the answer. I cannot hire the whole the 5 freelancer without any expert to manage them. Okay, so and then if you have the freelancer and you connect with a big guy like the VNG, etc., for sure they have their own in-house company, and that the freelancer model did not work for them. So you need to identify clearly who is your customer, and the important is you need to get the early. You need to talk to the company in order to understand their needs, not to base on your hypothesis. Any business model, not just about the AI freelancer, but I share some view in terms of the current status of the AI. Okay.
Maybe I want to add 2 points. One is question about maybe a bigger problem is what kind of talent is needed, whether it's outsourced or in-house. And so I've had the opportunity to design a couple of programs for undergraduate and master's program. Previously, I was at NUS in Singapore, and now I'm at HKU, and I've designed several programs. One of the things that I think that's very key is to, in this industry, a lot of, especially our master students, they need to be pulling from different pillars of knowledge and talent, right? And so when you build a data team, for example, it's not just CS people, it's not just math people, but you also need someone with good social science or economics and psychology, right? And so if you're assembling a team, yes, some of that can be outsourced, but I think at the end of the day, you still need someone in-house that has a lot more business knowledge, right? And then that can guide them. And so when we design our programs, we usually have students take classes from, even the math department, as well as computer science, as well as business, right? So I think that's maybe the first point. So then like Juan was saying, maybe then the business person has to manage all of these outside ones. I think the other point that you raised up was about privacy, about AI, and I do want to touch on this a little bit because some of my research is also on privacy. So in some of these papers have been published already, and we worked with Facebook very early on, since 2009 when they were launching a lot of privacy settings. And one thing about privacy is that what we call there's a privacy paradox, meaning that if you ask any consumer, maybe all of you here, if you guys care about privacy, almost everyone here would say yes. But what we did with Facebook was that we did a lot of experiments, including A/B testing and more econometrics and causal analysis. We find that actually that's not necessarily the case. What you say versus how you behave may not be completely the same. And so when we did the study, it's published a few years ago, we find that sometimes the objective privacy may be the same. But the perceived privacy is what can cause different behaviors. And so we've done these experiments and found that when companies manage privacy with their customers, it increases the perception of privacy in the company, even though the objective privacy is the same. Then consumers are more open to sharing data with you. So I would say that for any company that when I consult or talk to them, we always assume that companies will be compliant to the local regulation. But what we can do is manage that privacy. So maybe in your case, working with all this AI, the end consumers, and saying, this is how much we care about your privacy, what we're doing, might be exactly the same as what you're doing already. But just articulating that better would have a better outcome.
I just want to add more, right? Because normally you use the AI. You don't need to have the identity information. Okay. Then in this case, you need to have the process to de-identify the data. And then from that, the company is confident to work with the external, the AI expert to solve the problem. But you need to offer how you can de-identify the data. Why you need the name, why you need the address from customer, etc. in order to analyze some of the use cases.
Specific for you, you've got like $1 million advice from our experts. Any other questions from the audience, please? Yes. No, he's first. He's raised his hand first. Yeah. And then come to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so afraid to talk in front of many people. First, I have to ask one question. Thank you for your sharing knowledge, Mr. Xiao Mingyong. I have a question for you. I'm a digital marketer. I work for a team. Our mission is develop hospitality industry of Khánh Hòa. Yeah. Our mission is attract Chinese tourism to Khánh Hòa province. And my question is the live streaming an effective method for the Chinese tourism industry? And how can Vietnamese business reach Chinese tourists when that method is already almost saturated in their home country? And could you give me some advice or suggestion, unique solution, please? Yes. Yes, that's
Yes, yes. Thank you. Cooperate with me. Okay, that's the answer. Okay. Anyway, so you see, of course, I fully agree. Actually, you should consider live streaming to attract tourists from China. As I mentioned, first of all you have to take care of the content. You have to respect the culture in China as well. To try to make some good video clips for Chinese users. For us, sometimes we also check the videos before we want to go some countries. So you just highlight the Vietnam's cultures, highlight the difference of Vietnam cultures from Chinese. Good video live streaming as well. Okay, to attract the tourists. I'm very promising. I think it's very promising to do that. Yeah, and you can cooperate with some leading platforms in China. For example, you can put your videos in. You can also do the live streaming through the TikTok. Okay, for example, like this way, and you can try to invite some Chinese stars to help you do that. Movie stars, singers, popular pops and singers.
Professor Zhang Win.
Yeah, and me as well. I don't mind if you want me to help you. Yeah, I'll give that to you. Okay, later. So the answer is very short. Yes, do it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And be careful. You remember, in China, they don't use the TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So you have to use their own platform in China.
And then you've got to apply A/B testing, just to learn from the consumer behaviors in China.
And then one supplementary is that you can try to find some Chinese who actually have some experience studying or living in Vietnam. They are more convincing kind of people. Okay. Or you can find some Chinese people living in Ho Chi Minh, for example, and they can speak Chinese well, right? So you can ask them to do that for you.
Or you can try HKU in Vietnam. They've got the alumni that could support you. Yeah.
Okay. You beat me to it. No, but I do want to say we also have like a Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam, HKBAV. We also have the Chinese Association in Vietnam. And of course, Vietnam has a large Chinese communities for hundreds of years, thousands of years. You can also tap into them and maybe just do some market research, see what appeals to them a lot. Because there is a lot of traffic both ways. Or you can go Lao Cai or all these border cities and ask them what attracts them.
And actually, there are different candidates of the platforms you could try, right? So like you could send the same resources, allocate the same resources on each of the platform and test which one can give you the highest conversion rate. And next step is to focus on that platform to distribute the content to attract the customers. You can test the different platforms to see which one is the best for you.
Yes, all the things you share is on our plan, but I'm so we are not confident. So today I will ask to.
Now you got the confidence, right?
Yeah.
And always remember, do A/B testing. So when you come to C, you're gonna have the confidence that you need. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think the next question, Mr. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for great event and also very inspiring, I think, talks and also discussion. My name is Kwon. I'm from Institute for Circular Economy Development, Vietnam National University, Ho Chi Minh City. I'm not mathematics and also not digital guys, but I'm working in circular economy and we have some keywords. I like the keyword very much, including multi-objective, partnership. Also, I think these two, of course, sustainability, because when we are working on circular economy is towards sustainability. So maybe my first question to Professor Sijong Gujuan. I think your talk is really, really inspiring. So the way you share, I like one thing, one key thing, I think, because you are talking on optimizations, but you're also talking about the platform. And I think in your work, the industry driven is really strong. But I think the platform is including data transfer or whatever infrastructures. I think it needs really a lot of contribution from the government. My question is, maybe when we do about optimization, maybe the thing related to the government is not really in the, let's say, optimize of variables. But if there is, how it can be further improved, or if there's not, is there really a lot of opportunities for industry and government collaborations in the optimization? Yeah. And my second question, actually, because I talk a bit with the digital people, and I'm still have a, let's say, intuition that the digital tech is really very promising and really a lot of contribution to the economy. But when I see about sustainability of digital technology, I think it's still a lot to industry, to economics. Social values on environmental value is not really in digital communities. So how do you think about this? Thank you.
Yes, I know. Yeah. For the first question, in optimization, we have the so-called sub-optimal solutions. That means, so if you have theoretically found a solution, but because of some, practical, difficulties, like some issues, like related to the government or the policy that cannot change, then we take the second best solution. Yeah, this is really something happening all the time. In my work with Huawei, sometimes, we made some suggestion to help, not the government, but for the company, for Huawei, say, okay, you should put the server here, not there. But the problem is that because of some reasons, you cannot put the server here. Yeah, that's a significant difference from the research in universities, right? So then the next thing you have to do is, okay, then you have to tell the company, if we put the servers there, not here, then what's the loss of the efficiency? You have to tell them. Yeah. So we use math to tell them, okay, what's the suboptimal solution under the new constraints? Yeah, you cannot. Sometimes it's very difficult to convince the government, to convince some authorities to change their mind. That's true. Yeah. For your second question, you are talking about sustainability for the digital economy. I think my own opinion is that this represents something for the future. I think it's very sustainable. My overall opinion of this. I think it's very promising to consider the digital economy. I think it represents the future. Yeah. We can see in China, for example, 10 years ago, we didn't see how, at that time, not everybody was confident about the digital economy. Okay. But now everybody, I think, are opposites. We believe in the other way around. We think digital economy is the future. We're talking about Web3. We're talking about metaverse. Everything is about the digital economy. Yeah. This is my short answer.
Thank you, Professor Yuan. I've been reminded that our time is running out. So I'm just going to ask the final questions for all the panelists. With all these digital economies moving very, very fast, one day we have Facebook, another day we have TikTok, and it seems like it's never ending, battle, and things always changing. So how can companies and how can us in general stay prepared so that we can always, be ready in this always changing digital economy?
Sure. So I guess as a marketer, we always say that marketing as a field of study has been more than 50, 70 years, and it's constantly changing. So in one sense, that's what keeps us employed. If we already solved an NP hard problem or an estimation, then we're done. then we have to find the next harder problem. So I think that the short answer is we constantly have to iterate and move fast, and also kind of fail quickly. Right. And so there were some comments about like, well, we made a wrong decision, or what do we do? I'd say do small experiments. Just do a small pilot and then get the feedback right away and then iterate again. But you're right. If you remember in social media way back when, before Facebook, there was like Orkut, there was like MySpace, all these ones. So it's constantly changing. So we don't know what the next big social network or digital platform will be. But we just have to keep on iterating fast, take small steps, do quickly, fail fast.
I think the important for the company is to build a culture. We continually ask ourselves with the new emerging technology, can we do differently? We do differently, or we continue with the current way to do it because the thing change fast. So I think the innovation foundation is the way for company to capture all kind of the emerging technology. And I think for the education, I have taken a lot with the high school or university. The way we educate we train the student today is for the current business environment, and we didn't train the student on how the business environment would be changed in that 3-5 years with emerging technology, right? So, for example, for finance, today, do we train the student about the cryptocurrency, etc.? It will be the tomorrow, right? So that is something that we start to in one of the school of the my children. We discuss and then we form up some kind of the workshop so that the kid can understand how the society will be changed with the new digital technology, etc. And then they will be ready for that.
I think the most important thing for the companies to prepare for the new technology or the digital economy in the future is to stay humble for the development of the technologies. You need to trust in the technology that could help us to improve the life, and at the same time, you also need to, keep cautious about the potential effects of the technologies. And I also want to reflect on a little bit on the sustainability. I think there are some issues that we as economists or the social scientists, when you think about regarding the sustainability of technologies, the data privacy issues, as well as the labor market changing. So like, I think that's all the issues that like the decision makers should be fully aware of. Not only the development of the technologies, but also the potential effects of the technologies.
We have to live with data. We have to live with a digital economy. So no matter you like it or you don't like it, you have to face the digital economy is changing our world. It's changing our life. Okay, so the data-informed technologies actually is changing our life, revolutionary. You know the ChatGPT a few months ago. You know how astonishing it is, right? So many people will lose their jobs, and many traditional industrial will be gone. Okay, and so my suggestion or my reflection is that as a people or as a scientist at least, or as a science students, you have to pay attention to this. You have to live with data. You have to try to adjust, try to consider, leave think out of the box. You have to leave the comfort zone, and you have to adjust your strategy. You have to, as a professor, I always say, okay, we have to adjust our schedule, agenda of our research. Forget about the something that are out of the date. You have to pay attention to something happening, something's changing the world. Okay. More specifically, many mathematical problems are not problems anymore. Professors will lose their jobs, many. But on the other hand, many new problems are coming, like what I said here. There are new problems. So you have to work on this instead of that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, our panelists. I just want to take on Professor Yuan's words that we're living in the digital economy and digital world, whether we like it or not. Everything is moving online. Everything is moving on digital. Our workshop today is not just about data, but it's about the digital at large. And one theme I keep on hearing over and over is that, it's all about the innovation. It's all about our mindset, that we should embrace the change and we should, leverage all the data to help us make better decisions in our business, in our life, instead of just relying on our intuition. And more importantly, is also about the collaboration. And that's the reason why we have professors from HKU and Hung from CIO Vietnam, from Sơn Kim Land and IBB hosting this workshop to share with you the insight, the experience, hopefully that we can have some key takeaways for you guys to help you live better in our digital world. And with that, thank you so much, our panelists, and thank you all the audience. We would have the networking section follow on so that you can ask our panelists more questions if you like. Thank you.